Welcome to Project Quantum Leap, the podcast. I'm Christina.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Sydney. 3 fans, 3 generations, 3 unique perspectives, 1 leap back into a television phenomenon. Join us as we follow the first adventure of Dr. Ben Song and the team that is desperately trying to get him home.
Just a quick warning, there will be spoilers. We're assuming you've watched the show if you're listening to us now. And we'd like to give a quick thank you to the Fate's Wide Wheel podcast and Carol Davis over on Twitter for giving us a shout out. We appreciate the warm welcome.
So this episode, obviously, we're going over the first episode of the new series, Quantum Leap. The leap date is July 13th, 1985, and Ben goes to Philadelphia. The IMDB lists the synopsis. A new team assembles to restart the Quantum Leap project. Lead physicist Ben Song takes an unauthorized leap into 1985 as the team scrambles to figure out what happened and how to get him back. I know that we had a lot of reservation, like what are we going? What's the tone going to be? What's the feel going to be? Although I don't think necessarily all the questions we had are answered. Obviously, one episode in, I just have to say I loved how it made me feel.
How did it make you feel?
Nostalgic.
I really got that feeling too. I loved this episode. It was fast paced. It was exciting. It introduced the new characters and everything, but it still had that feel of old school Quantum Leap. But with a little bit of an update.
Yeah, it was cheesy. There's no denying that. There is the 1980s, early 1990s cheese is present here. And I mean, you can take that or leave that depending on what your opinion is and what your specific tastes are. I enjoy it. I feel like it doesn't take itself so seriously. It can't do that. Whereas there's more present day in this show than we saw in original Quantum Leap, basing off of the first episode only. I have to assume that's probably going to be the norm. I don't know if it will be. But the present day has less of that cheese and is more, I think, has a more serious tone, which I think helps balance that out. It helps keep it modern and fresh and cheesy and nostalgic.
Yeah. Well, we know I've seen the least of the 3 of us. I've seen the least of the original series. I have seen the first 2 episodes. And that's pretty much all I've seen of a complete episode of the original Quantum Leap. And it's also, it's been it's been like a month since I watched them, and just to get my initial hey, this is what this is about, but to still have that kind of perspective of watching this without the context of having grown up with the original series. And I have to say that without having that context, this show felt like an old show. It had the vibe and tone of something that was on in the 80s, which was kind of refreshing in a weird way, because I feel like a lot of reboots or continuations of things from that era are they do homages to those things with referential humor and pointing out the hey, did you notice that there was a double feature of the Goonies on the movie? Yes, it had that. It showed us here is what year it is, but it wasn't just relying on that. Here's a couple of shots of people with shoulder pads and leg warmers on to let you know that it's 1982. It was more that the tone of the entire show, the way that it was written, the way that the exposition was delivered, the type of sort of corny dialogue, the sort of, you're the getaway man, so get away, man. That's so 80s and early 90s TV. And
it had to be intentional. I don't think that was an accident. So yeah. I'm for it, obviously.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is that I feel like I'm kind of an outlier in a lot of ways compared to the masses, because so many people who aren't necessarily big fans of that genre, who are my age and my generation, I of course being the youngest of the three of us, maybe aren't going to be used to that. I have a tendency to like things that are older than what a lot of what my peers like. And so I could see a lot of people in my generation being like, why is this so cheesy? Because
yeah, well, I think that's what is great about the present day, not really having that as much. It strikes that balance where people might not get or understand or like that, but then there's a good, I think 30% of the show that doesn't really contain that. It's in the more serious sci-fi part of the show, which balances it out.
Yeah, but I mean, I would disagree that I still think that there's kind of that same tone going on in the present day because it's a writing style. It's the way that the dialogue is delivered. And it's hard to describe if you don't know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, like, it's a pacing thing. It's the type of language that's being used between characters. It just gives you a feeling, a sense. And while it's definitely cranked up a notch in the leaping segments, it was still, I mean, listen, the very first scene, the show opens up with present day. And so it has to start off with the tone that you're going to get the rest of the show because it's the first 5 minutes. And it's so easy to lose viewers in the first 10 minutes. If you don't deliver your mission statement immediately, then that can be a huge mistake that a lot of TV shows can make. And so the tone is still, I think, pretty true to that in the beginning, even though it takes place, in present day. So, but I did really enjoy just, and I promise I'm going to let Christina talk as soon as I get this sentence out. as soon as this sentence is out, I'll forget. But just comparing it to the pilot episode of the original Quantum Leap, I will say that I like that we open with present day and seeing the relationships and the bonds and the stakes that the main character, like the things that he has to leave behind, and we have that emotional stake of like, oh no, it's sad that he doesn't remember his fiance and his friends, because we actually got to see that happen. Whereas I feel like in the first episode of the original series, it was more just, wow, this is fun, but the stakes weren't necessarily as high because we didn't know really what Sam was leaving behind.
Sorry, the first scene in the original series was just Dean Stockwell driving, right?
Picking up a chick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we don't see even too much of the present day. It's been now a couple months since I watched it again, but it was very quick to the leaping and never really looked back at modern day.
Well, we don't see Sam engage in present day at all, is the thing. We don't see him with any relationships he has that he's leaving behind and forgetting about. Whereas here we have this entire sequence establishing the deep emotional relationship that I already forgot his name, Ben has with not just his fiance, but with all of his coworkers. Like, those are his friends who know him on a personal level too. Like, it's just implied through the subtext and through the text that they have a big history together and that they all know each other very well and trust each other. And so it's not just like, oh, we lost our coworker. It's like they're a family, and we feel that. Yeah. So then the stakes are a lot higher.
Yeah, so when Ian is emotional because they just hadn't dealt with that yet.
Yeah. And Ian being the tech nerd is still the emotional though. Like that tells you a lot. Ian is the one that they deal with the computer and with Ziggy and everything, and they're still grappling with the emotions of potentially losing their friend forever. So that says a lot. Christina, you talk now.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because like you said, in the original we don't get any of that. It's basically Al is like, yes, we're best friends. But Sam doesn't remember that. We never saw any of that before that. And yeah, they build on that over the years. But we don't have any clue what it was like before, other than these little tidbits they give us now and then of, things they've done in the past, or But we never really see that relationship outside Leaper Observer with them.
Mm-hmm.
Even when Sam does wind up coming back to the present, well, then Al's gone. He's in the past, so it's still the same. They're never really truly there on screen together in a way that we can see that kind of relationship. Yeah.
So
they can interact verbally, but they cannot interact. They have only the friendship that they've built during the leaping.
Right, so exactly.
When you say that Sam comes back into the present, like there are episodes when Sam like does come back, or you mean like he leaps into the body of someone who exists in his lifetime?
No, it was only one episode. It was like a glitch. He had leaped into someone who was getting like electroshock therapy.
Oh.
And I don't remember how exactly they explained it, but something went a little caca, and Sam and Al like switched places.
Oh.
So Al was leaping, and then they worked it out, obviously, to where Sam went back so he could save Al, and then Al came back to the present. So
okay,
it was still
how far into the series is that?
Oh, that's like season 4.
Oh, okay. So that's still a ways off. The show's like already super established at that point. So that even more just illustrates what we're talking about here. That like right immediately we are, before we see any leaping take place whatsoever, it's just relationships, character driven first. I feel like, at least from the first couple episodes of the original series, based on what I've seen, it seems like there's a lot it's carried pretty primarily by like the fun of it all, like the fact that, oh, this is a neat thing that this fun, charismatic protagonist is leaping into the bodies of all these different types of people and learning all these lessons about himself. But there aren't really there's not a whole lot of incentive for us to want him to actually succeed in getting back home anytime soon, because, well, one, that means the show's over ultimately, but two, like, we like seeing him learn these lessons. And also at the end of each episode, or at least, again, the first two, it seems like he is enjoying, by the time he's done with the body of the first couple of people, like, I know how that sounds. By the time he's done with their bodies, I know. I hear it. He seems to have enjoyed his time in their lives, and it's almost like he's sad to leave. Like, and we're kind of sad, like, oh, he got the swing of it. Like, he got the hang of this person's life, and now he's, like, settled in and he's happy there. So it's almost, like, not so sad for us to see him in this predicament. With Ben, it's like, we're sad. We're like, oh, no, your wife, your fiance, your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I love seeing those higher stake personal relationships between everybody. And I think it's important for modern television. I think it was probably easier to not have that in the old television show and still get people engaged. I think modern television requires those higher stakes, and I think it was well executed in the way they handled that. And I think going forward, I think it's well executed, or is set up to be well executed in a continuation of the show.
Yeah, and it kind of, to me, it seems like, you know, we see the leap, and we see more of, you know, the present time, which I always wanted in the old show. That was when I'm like, what the hell does the project look like? Who are these people he keeps talking? I mean, you see them bits and pieces, but not like in this. Like, in the old show, there was Gushy, and he was probably on screen a couple times.
Wait, ew, someone's name is Gushy?
Yeah. Short guy, bad breath.
I don't like that.
But I would assume he's closer like Ian's character. You know, worked with Ziggy and everything. But you're not really emotionally invested in the guy. You've only seen him a couple times. But, you know, Ian, I fell in love with Ian within like the first couple minutes they were arguing with the DJ.
Yeah, that was that told
you.
Yeah,
well, everyone, that's what Sydnni was saying. Everyone that has been presented so far, I think, has a strong case for being a strong, relatable character.
Yeah.
each character could be related to by multiple people, but they're also different enough that different people are going to relate to different characters. And I think it was just very well presented in that way and very well executed.
What I'm hoping happens is that, like, maybe as the show progresses, it won't just be Addison who's the hologram. Like, maybe sometimes, like, there will be a certain predicament that Ben finds himself in where, like, Ian might be more useful to come in and be sort of the Jiminy Cricket of the situation. And
totally. Like, let's use all these other characters.
Yeah, for each of them. Because they all seem to have a different dynamic with Ben. So at the very least, I hope we get different episodes that focus on specific backstories and
even Ernie Hudson
relationships. With each of them.
Yeah, you know what I thought was really cool was the fact that in the old series, it didn't seem like anyone other than Al could really see or hear Sam outside that imaging chamber.
Yeah, but
Ian and also God, what's her name?
The security chief.
Jen, I think her name's Jen. It seemed like they both have earpieces and they could hear both sides of the conversation. So, I mean, obviously it's like 30 years in the future, there's technology upgrade, but I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know, now it's not just, you know. Yeah,
because there was even this part where, like, Addison, I think it was Addison who tells Ian, like, were you even listening? And then Jen's like, they weren't, but I was. So, like, she's able to step in. And so
I think...
Go.
I think... Sorry, I was still formulating. That was more for us than for the story. I think, I mean, it was more for the fans who knew only Al could ever hear anything. But it still fit well to put it in the story like that. Which... like I'm not gonna just blow praises all over the place. I did have a few issues with the episode, in that, man, did I think it was exposition heavy in those first 7 minutes. Like there was, I think, too much. I mean, like, having watched Quantum Leap, it was all digestible. I'm trying to imagine what it's like to not know anything about the show and be like, wow, what is all this information I'm getting? It seemed like a lot to me, even knowing what's going on for the most part.
I had that same gripe. I get what they were going for, because there are going to be people who haven't seen the original, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, look at this cool new show. And you want to give them enough to understand kind of what's going on, but it felt like a bit of an info dump. And I get it. It's a pilot episode, so I kind of let it slide.
Exactly.
But the pacing was a little weird about it. And I think if it had gotten a 2-part like the original had, because Genesis was a 2-part opener, I think the pacing might have been a little less crazy.
I do think that is one of the things that contributes to the sort of 80s-y tone of it, though, because a lot of shows at that time, especially in the pilot storyline, there was a lot of that. Just like, hi, here I am going to tell you what's going on, because a lot of this episode is going to be comprised of things that will later be used as clips for promo. So I feel like that's kind of, I sort of expect that, but I especially expect it from a show from the 80s. And so, like, that was definitely present in the original Quantum Leap first episode. So it almost seems like they did it not just for practical purposes, but to add to that effect of, this is supposed to feel like an older show.
I could see that.
But we also, in the original, we kind of got, by way of explanation, you're part of a time travel project that went a little caca.
Yeah.
I mean...
And then they used that in the intro sequence for a while, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, didn't the trailer for this series had a lot of the audio clips from this episode, like the line of, like, you're the getaway man, like, but also the part where Addison's just like, where she info dumps Ben and tells him, like, okay, here's the quick version, you're a time traveler from the future and I'm a hologram and we work together. Like, it's they definitely was just like, yes, there's a lot of this dialogue that is made up specifically to be trailer fodder, and I imagine also, we'll probably see less of that.
Since you brought up that part, didn't it seem like Ben sort of accepted that, was like, okay, so let's go.
Yeah.
If someone told you they were a hologram from the future, wouldn't you be like, what are you smoking?
I don't know what anything is right now. I have no memory. I also, did anyone else think it was kind of weird that when he first sees his reflection as whatever the name of the guy was he's
Mark
leapt into?
Nick.
I
think his real name was Matt, but he was Nick.
Well,
I had a gripe about that too. But
when Ben first comes alive and realizes okay, who, I'm awake now, where am I? And then he looks in the mirror and he's like, what the hell? Who am I? If he doesn't remember anything and he doesn't know who he actually is or what his name is or who he's engaged to, why did he know what he looked like? So that when he looked in the mirror, it weirded him out to see somebody else.
I had that thought too, but I mean, that's, from what I understand, anyway, I'm not an expert, amnesia doesn't work that way. You forget details,
but you still know
you
who
don't
you are.
Forget how to talk, you don't forget how to walk or move.
Yeah.
I don't think you would forget what your face looks like, even if you don't remember what you're called.
But you remember other people's faces.
That's the way I canonized it. Anyway.
Well, they did that in Genesis as well. When Sam first gets a glimpse of himself as Tom Stratton, he freaks out.
Wrong. Yeah.
He didn't know who the hell he is, but he knows he's not this guy.
Yeah.
That is interesting. That did happen in that one too. And I think I had the same thought where I was like, wait, does he know what his own face looks like? So how does he know what his own face looks like if he doesn't remember what his friends' faces look like? And with Ben,
I think it's fair to say that even if you don't remember what you look like, you might have a similar reaction to discovering what you look like.
That's true, I guess.
True.
That is a good point.
They do describe it as Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
So
not everything's gone.
Yeah, not everything's gone. And we see in the original also Sam kind of regains and loses memories as we go through the show. So he learns more about himself, he remembers more about himself.
Yeah.
Some things are lost forever. We only know them because, of Al, who mentions them or something. But Sam could forget different things from leap to leap.
Because it's a whole new leap.
Exactly. So different parts of his memory are getting scrambled around.
Yeah.
You could say the initial leap where he goes from the real world, or not the real world, present time, into the quantum realm is where the biggest memory loss happens, but there's always risk of memory loss for every other subsequent leap.
Exactly.
I really like Magic, Ernie Hudson's character.
Okay.
I love him.
This is the Magic from the Leap Home Part 2.
Yes.
I did not know that when you and I just recapped this episode. I didn't put together that Ernie Hudson was this character.
I was
That's
just
what
about
I was
to
most
ask
excited
you
about.
guys. I was literally just about to ask you guys if he was in the original series, if this was a character.
So, yes, he was a squad mate of his brother in Vietnam. And Sam leaps into Magic for that episode. He is Magic.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I do remember that we read this. Because I feel like we talked about this last time we sat and did this. A little
I don't think it registered to me because I didn't really remember the episode.
So now I kind of want to go watch that episode. That's interesting.
It's a good episode.
I think you should watch both of them if you're going to.
Yeah, the first one's my favorite.
Yeah, we just have to evaluate whether or not that ruins your perspective of being the newbie who doesn't know anything or
there's
not.
a lot of content though, right? What is it, 5 seasons?
Yeah.
If she sees Sam's leap home,
she can get some of those stakes that she was just talking about with Ben Song having.
Yeah.
It just took 4 seasons to get them.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
Three
yeah,
seasons.
that was a season 3 opener.
And then going back to something you said earlier, Sydney, that Christina commented on, the whole Ben leaped into someone who was actually using a fake name to be someone else. Did I really pick a classic episode where they did that exact same thing the week before we recorded this podcast? Piano Man. Oh, no, that was yours. No, that was yours.
Yeah.
But still, I was like, wow, the classic episode we just reviewed did that
the same thing.
Yeah.
Somebody was in witness protection or something.
Yeah. Kind of. It was volunteered running away, but he had changed his name to avoid being tracked down.
I see.
And so they couldn't find anything out about the guy that Sam was in because he was using a fake name.
I want to say that was 1985 too.
Oh my god, it was.
1985.
Yeah. So a couple of, I mean, to me, complete coincidences because I didn't put together that Ernie Hudson was, I can't remember Sam's brother's name.
Tom.
Tom's platoon mate. And then also this sort of like returned theme of not knowing who someone is because they changed their name. Pretty funny.
Like that. Damn it. One more quick gripe. I really did love this. I do have gripes, but I really did love it.
Oh, absolutely.
They moved the project to Los Angeles.
Where was it before?
It seems like an expensive move to move all that quantum.
They were in New Mexico, kind of like where the first atom bomb was detonated or tested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get from a filming standpoint, LA is if they're going to be in our
It's a more
present
interesting
time,
backdrop.
more interesting. But
also,
did they just download Ziggy and bring him over, or did they grab the whole computer?
Yeah.
I mean, Ziggy definitely looks different. So
I mean, Ziggy's an entire server. It looks like now, not just a computer room, but like an online sort of functioning entity.
I don't even remember. I don't think they talked at all about Ziggy, or if they did in the first two storylines.
They're mentioned. She's mentioned. He's whatever it is.
now that computer has an ego.
It is mentioned, but yeah, not to the detail I think that they mentioned in this first episode.
No, yeah, I think Ziggy, like you said, is mentioned, but Al's more like, look, let's just get this show on the road and let's figure things out, and then we kind of learn more about Ziggy as we go.
Because if they do mention Ziggy by name at the beginning of the original show, I had forgotten it because when I was watching this one, I automatically assumed that Ian named it Ziggy, like after David Bowie, because like it just seems like
because they used David Bowie.
Yeah, but also because like I know that Mason, that actor, is like a huge Bowie fan as well, and that that character did seem to like be going for like that thin white Duke androgynous aesthetic. So I was like, oh, okay, it totally makes sense that Ian would be a Bowie fan and name their project after Ziggy Stardust. But then, Andrew told me that like that was what the what its name was at the beginning too, and I was like, oh, I don't remember that at all. They must not have brought that to a lot of focus right off the bat.
I'm actually Googling to see why Sam chose Ziggy.
Did Sam name it Ziggy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, Sam made it with Al.
So right? Sam created the technology.
Gushy.
Oh, with Gushy.
I mean, Al was a part of it, but Gushy is Sydney's face.
That's gonna be a running theme. Like this entire podcast, every time it's gonna be like if we have merch, it's gonna be a T-shirt of it says Gushy. Ew.
Right?
Catchphrase.
Ew, Gushy.
Think of wet socks.
It doesn't really say. Okay.
Speaking of Ziggy, Ziggy's got a new look.
Kind of sleek.
She's now a disc. It looks like a disc thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. You know what it kind of reminded me of? I've seen some people calling it a hockey puck,
like
but
a ding dong.
Oh.
It looked like a Tron disc to me.
A light disc.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
A smaller, but yeah, totally.
Yeah. And it seemed more functional. I mean, Ziggy never really seemed functional. The hand never seemed functional, but at least this one seems to be useful. Like we, the audience, can see.
It
kind
brought
of
up a hologram that Ben could see.
Exactly. In the other one, it does bring up holograms now and then.
Oh yeah, okay.
But it was mostly just Al reading the non-existent screen.
Yeah.
So. And they actually have a picture of it. There's no screen on there, so what was he reading? But
He just really memorized his lines really well.
Yeah.
He had it all written down on his hand.
Exactly.
The original one kind of
And
looked like
on
light.
that note, the blue hue is still making an appearance, so I like that.
Yeah.
But it's less of I don't know how they did the original effect, but I assume it was the same way that they made lightsabers glow in the original Star Wars film, where they just overexpose an area with a colored light.
Probably.
But I like how when he leaps now, there's like the blue swirls happening around him.
Yeah,
It
that was
looks
super
more
cool.
mystical in a way. I liked the new effects. I think they were reminiscent enough, while also like using modern technology to make it more unique and appealing, rather than a silly glow over a character.
And I've seen complaints about the effects as, like, oh, it's not the same. Well, even in the universe, like in the show's universe, 30 years have passed.
Yeah.
Their technology's not going to get better?
Yeah. So you mean to tell me
No,
that
of
if
course
a
not.
government project, like a top secret government project being run in the 80s, that then gets shut down and then brought back to life again several decades later, and
is not going to have upgrades?
it's going to not look the same? Like that, especially when their whole purpose is to try to do it better, like to try to not make the same mistakes they did the first time. Like,
Yeah, they're trying to
why
fix
would they
it.
do it the same exact way? That doesn't make any kind of sense.
Now, as far as effects are concerned, I do have to gripe about the chroma key, the green screen. Wow, it did not look good. I don't know if that was a choice or not, but the first time we see it used, apparently, is when Addison fades out, like she loses the connection. And there is just this bright light on her back and a black outline on her front, while when we go to her perspective and she sees Ben fading away.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen a blue screen or a green screen or whatever color they used that bad in a long time. And it really did kind of take me out of watching the show to being like, wow, I just saw a bad effect.
Well, see, I'm kind of used to it because
of watching old stuff.
No, because once upon a time, their like blue and green screen was always kind of like could have been better. So,
and ABC's got the money for that. They got that Disney money. So like, what?
They're freaking Disney.
No
Come on. No, don't take this as hating. I still love Once Upon a Time. No haters, please. But their green screen did kind of suck.
Yeah, I guess they just haven't perfected that over here yet. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I don't really think there's much of an excuse because I'm no filmmaker and I've done better chroma keys.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even consider myself good, but I'm better than what I just saw. So part of me believes, I wonder if it was a choice.
That's what I was thinking.
If it is, it's just a choice I don't prefer.
Yeah, that popped into my head as well. Like, I feel like Universal would have the ability to do better green screens. So what if they just want it to kind of look retro? Like, they want it to feel like a show from the 80s. So what if they're kind of walking that line visually of not looking too much like a Marvel movie? You know what I mean? Like, because then maybe that would take away from the vibe if it looked too 2022. But yeah, I agree. I think they need to cross that line a little bit more because it was a little bit distracting in that moment.
Well, yeah. What leads me to believe it's a technical flaw, like not a flaw with the show itself, but a technical flaw from whatever caused it, versus a choice, is there was also a lot of bad audio dubbing.
Oh my god, yes.
Where the characters were clearly saying something else than what we heard.
You're talking about the languages, aren't you?
The languages?
How he when she was like he could speak several languages.
No, I wasn't even talking about that. There's just
when he's in the bathroom and Addison is, I think she's kneeling down, and she's talking to him. We cut away, like he's looking at her, but then the camera cuts away to where kind of farther away, and we can see the side of her mouth. And I don't remember what the words are being said. Like,
but it didn't match at all. Like both of us noticed.
Like she was saying like a different sentence.
Yeah. You know, and there was actually a little bit about that because when they were dealing with the guy that made the fake Hope Diamond, apparently when she said he spoke several languages, apparently she said something else, and there was a dubbing issue there too. I think that was part of that was because this was the second pilot they shot.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to lead into is these are more easily forgivable because they are the pilot episode that it's happening in. And, honestly, I can ignore them once I'm used to them.
Yeah.
The bigger worry is the massive audience watching it and being like, wow, this show sucks. Look, they can't even afford a good effect. Like, I want this show to continue because despite like the few complaints I've just been talking about, I really liked it.
Yeah.
And I want it to do well because I like where it's going. I like the characters. I like the first glimpse we're getting of the larger plot. Which like it kind of looks, I mean, you know more, Christina, but it kind of looks like to me we might already be getting to the Evil Leapers plot.
Evil
You
Leapers?
know?
There's something nefarious going on.
There is. There really is.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if, I mean, Al's granddaughter or daughter is going to be affiliated with something nefarious, or if there is more altruistic motivations behind her reasoning for getting involved. And I'm here to discover this. I'm excited to see where this goes.
What are the Evil Leapers do?
Oh, they tried to fuck things up.
So how do other people figure out how to leap?
We don't really know, actually, whether it's a company or whether they're from hell.
From hell.
Not really specific. Yeah.
Leapers from hell.
Yeah, Leapers from hell.
But,
but yeah, that's why I'm like curious. Like, is this the subplot they're going to bring up to connect it, or is this the thread that they're going to pull at? They're like, wow, this is something we never explored. We can explore this now.
Yeah, but okay. Here's my thing. Okay. Oh, there's another thing I saw online. A lot of people were really angry about Quantum Leap being abandoned and everything. They're like, well, Al has money, and why can't he keep it running? Well, when the government shuts you down, you can have all the money in the world, but you can't use their facilities. Yeah. They're not going to let you in their facilities. So I'm thinking...
You ever tried doing something the government doesn't want you to do?
Right? So I'm thinking, like, his daughter... Well, obviously, Al was very close to the Becketts. Mm-hmm. She would be very close to the Becketts. She's probably trying to continue his work in his absence. Because even though the government shut him down, I don't think Al ever truly abandoned trying to get his friend home.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I would believe that.
He probably,
why would you?
Down to his last breath, probably was still trying to figure it out.
And if he wasn't, he only died a year prior.
Right.
According to the show, which is like about when Dean Stockwell actually died. So I guess they're coinciding with that.
Yeah.
It does not seem likely to me that in 1 year his daughter would go from not knowing to being able to interfere and get Ben to do things if she wasn't previously entangled with it, which means Al had to be still working on it.
And actually, speaking of Al, that actually made me tear up, the whole dedication and everything. And I didn't know this personally because it's been a very long time since I've seen the movie, but apparently his picture they used was not from Quantum Leap, but from McHale's Navy.
That's pretty fun. Pretty funny.
I'm like, did they do it on purpose? Did they do it on accident? I think it's like just one of those little Easter eggs you throw in to be funny.
Yeah. I'm sure they just purchased the rights to the picture because he was already in a military getup.
Yeah.
And it was easier to just do that. They probably just like photoshopped the ring on,
Yeah, but they were like, well, why didn't they use one in his uniform in Quantum Leap? Well, it's a little, it's funny.
Yeah.
It also, I think, it's a great way to illustrate that he had other events in his life that we didn't see in Quantum Leap.
That's true too.
And doesn't mean Al was part of McHale's Navy.
Yeah.
But it just, that's the Easter egg you're talking about. But it shows that Al, he did things we didn't see. I think that's a problem with a lot of the common viewer to a lot of TV shows is they assume that they see every moment of the character's life, but we don't. We have to assume they're doing things in between all the time that we don't see.
Yeah.
We don't witness every moment of their life from the time the TV show starts to ends.
Oh god, that was
Conversations, yeah, conversations between characters are absolutely happening off camera that we don't see.
And I think that's a bad cop out in some cases. I'm going to use Once Upon a Time again. Like,
I mean, if you
someone
know it,
would
you
do
know
some,
it.
yeah, someone would do something bad, and then 2 episodes later, everything would be fine. They're like, and the showrunners would be like, oh, well, they had that conversation off screen. I'm like, no, these are the conversations that need to be on screen. Like,
Yeah.
When it's something
let me
directly
clarify.
pertaining to the plot.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's mostly what I mean is we're only supposed to see what pertains to the plot and some flavor.
Yeah.
But we don't know their life and every moment of it.
Do you think it's possible that maybe we'll see these characters leap into a time when we possibly might meet like a young version of Al? Like,
I hope
maybe
so.
they'll have somebody play him like as a teenager or something. Like,
Well, how old is Ben? He might be too
Ben's like in
young.
no, okay. But here we go. Okay.
oh, because it has to be in his lifetime.
But
Okay.
well, first
But
of all,
there's
there
loopholes.
was an
Always
episode
loopholes.
where Sam did leap into a young Al, and he was played by Jamie Walters
Oh, okay.
from like 90210. So that's actually possible, and it sounds like they're finding loopholes to make sure that like Ben, when needed, can leap outside his lifetime.
Okay. I
So-
forgot that was a rule, that he had to.
Mhm.
It could only be in his lifetime. So
They're more like what you might call guidelines.
for now, I guess.
We
it's
are
also
recording
30
this on
sorry.
National Speak Like a Pirate Day. So,
Oh,
a little
arr.
Jeffrey Rush for you there.
Yeah. Oh wait, wasn't that yesterday? Either
That was
way,
yesterday.
It
Oh,
it premiered on
I
Speak Like or
see.
Talk Like a Pirate
yeah.
Day.
So that counts. We're still on yesterday time because we're talking about a show that premiered yesterday. So it's fine.
Yeah,
Totally.
We're still pirates.
works for me.
Anyway, what were you saying, Christina?
I forget.
Oh, sorry about that.
Man,
I had to get my pirate speech out.
The rules, the guidelines.
yeah,
Got
bending
it.
the rules. You were talking about
Yeah.
how it's possible that Ben might figure out how to leap outside of his own lifetime.
Oh, now I remember. I mean, like I said, it's been like 30 years since
Mhm.
Sam first leaped. So
What if Al
technology
solved
changes, technology upgrades,
Yeah.
and we saw that Ben had uploaded like all this new code into the system.
Yeah, that's definitely a plot device that we're going to keep revisiting
Also,
Yeah.
over and over. It's going to be the reason for things that they can't explain yet. And I think we're going to see that.
what if
I think it's valid, but I think we're going to see it multiple times, probably at least in the first season.
what if we do meet Sam, but he's not in Sam's body? Like, could that potentially happen? Like, Ben could leap
Yes.
somewhere, and then he meets somebody, and then it turns out he finds Sam, but
Yes.
but it's
Would
not
two
Scott
leapers be able to see their real faces?
Yes, because in the Evil Leaper plot, they did that. Sam, the thing was, if the leapers touched,
Mm-hmm.
the like facade would kind of go away, and they would see each other for who they really were.
I could see that being a cool segment. Like, if they use, we meet Sam, but he doesn't look like Sam, but then like Ben like shakes his hand or something, and we get a flash of Bakula,
Mm-hmm.
That would be bomb,
could see
even though
them
he
doing
said he's not doing the show.
But they
that
could
doesn't
use
mean
his image,
There's not
though.
going to be a That doesn't mean
Yeah.
he's not going to do a cameo in the future.
Exactly.
Doing the show and appearing on the show are two different things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if
I still hold out the hope that Scott Bakula could return to some capacity.
Well, and they are using his image,
what I'm
so it's not like he
saying.
said, "No,
Yeah.
you can't use my image."
yeah,
or,
they
Exactly.
can
you
use
know,
his likeness to like superimpose and like Luke Skywalker him just for like to show him,
I would not.
but only for like a second is what I'm saying, like just long enough
Yeah.
to see that that's Sam in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
that
would
could
be
work.
pretty cool.
But if it's any sort of sustained
Yeah, we
conversation,
don't want that.
No,
we better have an actual Scott Bakula because studios are just not good enough yet at making mouths look real.
Yeah.
no,
You got it.
And
No.
it's so illusion
Yeah,
breaking.
you can't go half Bakula. You got to go full Bakula.
Yeah.
Yes. But, you know, I mean, it was a big part of his life.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is he doesn't want to like overshadow these new characters either.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, let's throw them all in for watching Bakula, but once he's gone, can this show stand on its own?
He might also be hanging back
That
to
is
see
a-
how well the show does too.
Exactly.
That is a great segue into another thing I wanted to speak about, which is the characters in general, which we've kind of already done. But I love that almost every character is new, and the connection that they have to the old show is very loose for the most part. And I think that's just what we were basically just saying, is that is a great way. We're going to see these characters develop independently of the old show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is I'm not going to call it a brave choice. I think it's the smart choice, but it's the smart choice that so many studios do not want to make for the fear of, I don't know, not getting the fandom or something. You can use Star Wars Episode 7 through 9 on how you can take brand new characters and make them so heavily reliant on the iconic characters that the new characters don't develop.
Yeah.
And then they're just wasted.
Exactly. And I think you've got a great point, because what happened with Star Wars, a lot of people went to go see legacy characters.
Yeah.
And on this, like within seconds, I'm like, oh my God, I love Ben and Addison. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't love them because they know Sam Beckett. You love them because they were good characters.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I've even looked at them all, well, he's not a carbon copy of Ben.
No.
She's of Sam, sorry, and she's not a carbon copy of Al. They're two completely different characters,
And they're in love.
and they have a
too.
yeah. It's this totally different dynamic, and I'm like, oh my God, I ship them so hard. I love them.
Also, I do like that instead of just leaning on references like wink wink, he said the same thing. And that's like that other thing that he said in that one episode. And again, there might have been
They changed it.
there might have been more of that happened that I just missed because I haven't seen the show as much, but I did think it was funny that Ben seemed to have his own sort of spin on Oh Boy.
Yeah. Oh shit.
And it's like
Cut.
I really like that, because if they had just done Oh Boy, it would be like, oh,
Yeah,
well, it's
why
just
would he say
copy.
that? That doesn't
Why
make
would he
sense.
say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll say this new line every time, or do you think it was just a one-time nod?
I hope so. I think that would be cool if we get it the same way, where he says, oh shh, and then they cut
Yeah.
it before they say
Yeah.
shit, because it's a network television
Yeah.
show.
I like it because
Well,
it
they
was
can
such a
say that now,
staple
though.
of the old series, you know,
Mhm.
and it's a callback.
Yeah.
But it's different.
Yeah. They can say that word on network now, though, actually. That
Oh,
one's
okay.
been in the green for a couple of years now, weirdly enough. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
So that means we can say shit
yes, we
on
can.
the podcast. I mean, we say other
Are
things.
those-
but-
Oh, I think we've already said fuck in this episode.
Yeah.
so-
Have we? Sometimes it's
And
hard
Mom
to
still
Yeah.
listens.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, no.
I think Christina or myself have already said it. but-
Yeah, that's just one of my favorite
Yeah,
words.
that's bad.
Look, the three of us, we all talk like sailors
In real life, yes. It's
in real life.
Can't
So,
help it. This is like watered down Sailor.
But I have some classroom and Disney training, so I think I'm maybe a little better than Andrew at like turning it off.
I used to have
You
Disney
did.
training, and then I worked jobs where I needed none of that, and I embraced it.
Yeah, I was good, and then I started working at this new place, and they're a little more lax about,
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're not screaming fuck at the top of your lungs, they really don't care. And then, I started taking Tai Chi classes, so
yeah.
there's kids at the class in front of us,
Oh, no.
and so I've been working really hard to watch my mouth, and then a couple Saturdays ago, I screwed something up. I was like, damn it! And my teacher looked at me, he's like, there's children present. I was like, oh, my bad. Sorry. I was doing so well.
Damn it! Don't say that.
Do as I say, damn it.
Yeah.
It's like, stop listening to me.
So anyway, Ben says, "Oh shit," and that's
Yeah.
funny. I
Yeah.
do kind of hope that keeps happening, because I think it
Yeah.
also adds to that retro tone
Exactly.
Yeah.
without being
And
just
you know-
like
Phrases.
like a total reference of like he said the thing like He has his own.
And catchphrases are so like not a thing anymore, and that is a product of that time period. And having that, like you said, is just that extra link.
And wouldn't most people, if they found themselves in that kind of a situation, wouldn't they say like, "Oh shit"?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would.
Yeah. At least.
Yeah.
I also loved Ernie Hudson.
Oh, he's great.
He's got some acting chops, man. I mean, they all do. But I don't know, just something about him specifically. I just believe everything.
Yeah,
he
brings an air of like validity and professionalism to the show. Like when he walks on set, it's like it just makes it feel like more legit and more like this is a real ass thing that's happening right now when he shows up. So yeah, he definitely brings that vibe, and he also just his face and the tone of his voice is also adds to that nostalgic 80s vibe because he is such an 80s icon in his own way.
And in my head, I was trying to calculate how old he has to be because he was in Vietnam.
So he'd be a little bit older than our parents.
God damn, Ernie Hudson looks good.
I happen to have this little internet in my hand right now.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about Ernie Hudson's character a little bit.
76. He's 76.
No way. That's like way older than our parents.
Dude looks like he's 50 years old.
Man. But no, he kind of gave me this vibe like he's a hard ass, right? Like I can see him being a hard ass, but he's also like he's got this.
He's somebody's good grandpa though.
Yeah, he's like got the dad character vibe. Like he
cares about his crew.
Exactly. He looks out for his team. He sticks his neck out for them. Like the one girl's telling him to terminate her because she screwed up, and he's like, "No,
as if I need you." Yeah, he definitely.
But he does it in that hard ass way where he's not necessarily going to tell you, "Hey, I care about you," and no, I can't just do that to you. He's going to be like, "No, you're going to clean up your mess."
Yeah. And you could see her even like smile after he's like termination denied.
Yeah, she understood what he said as the caring of the relationship.
Yeah.
Not just the words he was saying. And, I mean, I think part of believing that is the way Ernie Hudson delivers it because the man is good.
Yeah, he's really good.
I'm also excited to see, unless it's something from the old show that I forgot or just don't remember or never saw, how magic got involved in the Quantum Leap project.
Yeah, we don't know that yet.
Okay, good. So it's not something I just forgot about.
I mean,
I'm excited to see how Sam's brother's squad mate, who ends up dying anyway because he just said he was the only one left of his platoon in the show.
In theory, couldn't we get like a flashback? Like,
that's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm excited to explore that and see how it happens. But that means Sam's brother is dead.
Yeah.
Right, because he said, "I
missed that.
I'm the only one left alive." Is there something? He said something to that effect.
Yeah, and I mean, if they were in Vietnam, then a lot of those
even though
vets
Sam saved him, he could have died somewhere else.
Vietnam. Old age even.
That's true. 76.
Yeah,
still unbelievably.
Yeah, but
good.
His sister, we don't know if she's still alive or not.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that magic probably was intertwined with the Becketts, especially after Vietnam, because you got your military buddies, you're pretty darn close after.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he knew something, especially when it's like, okay, there's this like a whole week I don't freaking remember other than like some weird blue lights.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if he knows Sam left into him.
See, I want to know. I want to see the flashback where he finds that out.
Yeah.
I
think there's just so much to explore there. And like I said, I'm very excited to see it continue. I want it to continue. But I think that's why voicing the concerns is important. Because it's important to know those concerns and hope that they get the feedback. I don't have any illusion that anyone important is going to be listening to this. But if they happen to, they know it's not necessarily some unfixable problem, but I could see how the masses might see those problems and just be turned off, because my philosophy in life is you always assume the masses are idiots.
Yep.
And don't understand. So
I always assume everyone's an idiot, which is why I'm still alive.
What is that from?
The Princess Bride. That's for anyone out there listening who's a fantasy nerd.
I love that movie.
That would be me. So,
I recently saw a meme on how great Inigo Montoya's revenge story is, because it's so counterculture to what the typical hero revenge story is, where it's like, oh, you know, the revenge I sought doesn't do anything for me.
it turns out I
really I have to find inner peace. But that's not what happens to Inigo
like,
Inigo Montoya.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Stab.
So like, instead of my revenge can't save me, it's my revenge can't save you.
Yeah.
You can't fix your mistake.
Yeah.
So now you have to die. And I love that sort of like meme. I saw that went through that, and that was.
I almost made another Princess Bride reference earlier, and I bit my tongue, but I might as well do it now. Because
do it.
When we're talking about when Magic was talking to Jen, and I was like, you know, when you were talking about how when he told her your permission, your request for being released is being denied, what he actually meant was, I love you. As you wish.
That would have been perfect.
So full circle. Full circle.
Right? What
Back in.
What were your thoughts on like the leap in general? Like the storyline on the leap? Because we didn't really cover that. We've talked about about everything on the other side. So what'd you think about that part?
Who was it that texted Ben at the party and was like, "Now's the time. Come on, you got to do it." Like,
that was Al's granddaughter.
No, daughter.
We assume.
Okay,
Daughters, yeah.
No, she is. Magic stated that she was his daughter.
Yeah, based on the ring she had, she knew it was Al's ring.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Al's daughter. So that's part of the main plot. That's going to branch the whole series. That I'm excited to see for. But yeah, the leap itself, I mean, it was good. It was a good like introductory episode. Nothing that happens in the leap is going to have any importance or significance for the show, and that's fine. I think that helps alleviate how heavy the exposition is.
Yeah.
It was just events, and it was mostly character driving for Ben. We get to see that same sort of quality in Ben that Sam has, where he has to say, no, I need to do this thing, even though it might not come out good for me. These people need me, sort of quality.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it. The whole Hope Diamond, like, big scheme. I mean, it is what it is. It's not like the most riveting leap that they could write. But at the same time, that's probably good, because are you really going to draw or play all your cards on the first episode and run out of steam?
Right.
I don't think that's a good idea. So my end opinion is that it was perfectly valid and forgettable in a way that's good, because nothing that happened in it, like I said, mattered to the overall plot. It was just here is how it works sort of episode, which I think was a good way to approach the first.
It's a video game tutorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was also enough to let us know sort of what kind of a person Ben is, because it wasn't like he made these personal connections with these characters, like he started to have this deep bond with the guy he was interacting with. It was just that he saw that, oh, he's trying to get money for his family because his wife is dying and he has a kid, and I'm a good person, so I want to make sure that that plays out the way it's supposed to play out. It wasn't like, I want to fix this because I became best friends with this guy over the last 24 hours. It's, I want to fix this because I have a good moral compass. And
it needs to be done.
Yeah, that tells you a lot, because like, he didn't necessarily have to feel that way. He could have just been like, oh, okay, I know what my job is here. I just gotta, make sure this guy doesn't get shot, and then I get to go home. And it wasn't selfishly motivated. It was like, I'm going to do my job, but I'm also going to make sure that this kid, doesn't grow up without parents, and that he doesn't go off to jail, and that like he still like has that moral compass. And then there were also enough like little situations to get him to show his sort of debonair, like James Bondiness, I guess, because I feel like Sam was really goofy, but not necessarily like a leading madman James Bond sort of type. And I feel like Ben has a little bit more of that edge. Maybe just because he's a little younger, or because, you know, that it's just like the modern edge, I guess. And Addison does say, like, who are you right now? Normally you're in a t-shirt, you know, trying to figure out code. But he seems to fall into that sort of, I'm going to tango with the evil lady and, you know, be suave and debonair pretty easily. And, like, speak in Romanian to the bad guy. And, like, so it was enough of a story to show us the complexity of Ben's character. I think that was the whole point of why it was what it was.
Now, on this note of the character of Ben, the driving, the unknown force, whether it be God or karma or the universe, based on the character type, the personality traits that Sam and Ben share, it is Ben had to be the leaper, right? But we actually found out that he wasn't supposed to be. Addison was supposed to be, and he took it from her for whatever reason.
Yeah,
find
because
out.
she's the cool one and he's the nerdy one.
But if we want to talk about this unknown force, whether it be Sam in the quantum realm or a god or karma, like I said, it had to be Ben, though, because as we learn from Quantum Leap, that's what it takes to be the leaper.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that is happening requires the compassionate fix. And it looks like Addison might be more willing to forego that and self-serve a little bit. So she was supposed to be the leaper, but she never could.
Well, we know Addison's more of a soldier. She has the military background.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has the military. They didn't actually
Didn't say that yet.
bring that up in the show, though. We only know that because we read things.
We also know, though, but if you watched, well, of course you watched. Dumb choice of words. In the situation, she's telling Ben how to get like out of these situations, like how to break his fisticuffs and how to, you know, get rid of the, you know, disarm the bomb. So, like, you
That's
can
probably
tell
why she was chosen.
Yeah, you can tell she was like training for this job. You know, and Ben, I mean, in comparison to, I'm going to compare him to Sam again, but Andrew, you know, when Sam leaps into something, I was like, oh yeah, well, you played piano since you were like 4, or
you have that skill.
you're a master in judo, and Ben doesn't seem to have. I mean, he does have a lot of talents. I'm not
Speaking a bunch of languages.
downplaying that. Yeah, exactly. You know, but when he punched the guy, he's like, ow, that hurt.
Yeah,
like you never saw Sam do that, right? So he might be a little less capable of kind of doing everything. You know, so seeing him try and figure that out.
Well, it seems like the original plan was for her to sort of be the worker bee and the soldier, and he was going to be hovering over computer Googling stuff for her to give her the backup of like the information, because he was because he was the
not Googling, ziggying.
Ziggying.
Yeah.
But Ziggy, so the internet was kind of a new concept back then. I mean, granted, the internet's it's been around for a long time, but in a household, it was kind of a new concept back then. So their first thought when they were getting information was just, oh yeah, well, we uploaded all this information from resources. There was no, well, I'm gonna hop on the internet and Google it. Well, now they've got like smartphones. So it's like, well, Ziggy can't figure it out, but I bet I can.
You know what will also be interesting is there was no segue into this new subject, but
just say it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to Ben leaping into time periods after Sam left. Right, he could leap into 2012.
Oh my god!
I'm I'm trying to think of, the early days of YouTube. Is that what that would be?
Well, the sort of like rail that happened in my brain is you were talking about the internet not existing, but with like, WikiLeaks and the declassification of things, what if Ben jumped into like 2012 and somebody had conspiracy theorized that Sam's project existed and other people knew about it that weren't even involved in the project? Yeah. I think there's sort of like an opportunity there maybe to write about.
Oh, is he gonna create his own origin?
Yeah. As Sam likes to do. Is he going to leap back into some person's consciousness and say something on TV that causes young Ben to investigate quantum physics?
Right?
Did that sort of thing
That's
happen?
something that happened. Yeah. In one of the classic episodes, we watch Sam leap into a actor whose fellow actor on the show he works on is actually like a genius and has started figuring out how to make a quantum leap device, but all the way back in the 50s. And they go on a live television broadcast where young Sam wrote a letter, because they did like fan mail on the show, asking about some scientific principle. And Sam, like modern old leaper Sam, taught the actor the principle, who then teaches that principle to young Sam.
I see.
So technically that seed of knowledge never had a point of origin, because Sam taught it to Sam, who taught Sam to teach Sam.
So, yeah.
So the idea never had a point of origin, because it was always told to him by him.
Like, so, I could see them doing another thing like that.
And they did it a lot.
Yeah, because we had just discussed it about something else in a previous episode.
Yeah.
But this one was more directly related to Sam College, which was what made it more impactful and why I remember it better.
Sam just created pop culture as we know it.
I guess so. Yeah. Sam and the Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, but yeah, I'm going to say it again. I liked the episode. I liked it a lot. I'm excited to see where the series goes. A lot of the fears I had that we talked about in our introduction episode are satiated for the time being. My only fears now are the masses, right?
Yeah.
Will they accept it the way I have? I would say I also fear diehard fans, but they're not going to make or break whether or not it gets continued, right? It's new watchers that's needed. Diehard fans, I mean, I hope they like it for their own sake, because I think it's great new content. But it's really new viewers that we need to like this if we want to see it continue.
And diehard fans, they can go either way. Like, for anything. When you reboot something, they either absolutely love it or they absolutely hate it.
And if they hate it, diehard fans will push you right off a building.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You should have seen the Once drama.
Diehard fans. They'll push you right off Nakatomi Plaza.
I expected Andrew to get that faster.
I was so busy thinking about fandom drama that I'm like, what?
They won't even wear shoes.
Hanging on by a watch. Yeah.
They won't even put their shoes on. They'll walk right on top of glass. They'll take your gun.
They'll be hanging on by a watch.
They will take your gun. They will tape it to their bare back.
Yeah, Die Hard.
Die Hard. Not a sponsor.
Die Hard. Not a sponsor. Bruce Willis, not a sponsor.
Bruce Willis, but if you'd like to sponsor, we'd
just
be down.
To be clear, we are not sponsored by Bruce Willis or Inigo Montoya. Neither of those.
Yeah. But if Bruce Willis wants to come on this podcast and talk to us about Quantum Leap,
have at it.
Sure, I'm down.
Mikasa,
we're also we're not sponsored by Tron, Disney.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time.
Nope.
All the other things we talked about. I've never actually understood the not a sponsor thing. Is that some sort of legality to make it clear that you're not being paid to say something? Or did it start as a meme that's just ballooned into every media now?
It's probably a bit of both. Because you know how when someone's like, they'll tell you how much they love something, they're like,
do not you believe that? Yeah. No, not a sponsor. I mean it, dude. Like, I just straight up love Die Hard. Like,
I mean, I do.
I'm not getting any kind of feed or kickback from the streaming services for, you know, if you watch it.
Were there any other specific notes we wanted to go over? I feel like
I think I've covered all of my thoughts today
Yeah,
on this episode.
I liked all the callbacks to the original show and the original pilot in general. I think it was a good way to kind of have these legacy characters in the show without being in the show and letting it kind of stand on its own 2 feet and giving the new, I mean, it is a new plot. It's expanding on the old plot. Give that a chance to stand on its own 2 feet, give these new characters a chance to become icons in their own right. So I was afraid I was going to be hypercritical, and I was a little critical, but I loved it.
Yeah. I was only hypercritical about technical details that had nothing to do with the writing, acting, storytelling.
Yeah.
It was all post-production stuff that I had issues with, I think.
Ooh, speaking of production, I will say I did enjoy that I recognized the Universal backlot. When they're in the city, I recognized like the urban set,
the big gray
city.
cement building.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, we just rode the tram through that. Nice. Like,
yeah.
If you watch the old show, you're gonna see a lot of that too.
Love it.
Yeah.
Any kind of favorites you guys had?
I want to see more of Jen. Personally, I really interested in her character. Specifically the dynamic between she and Magic. I got the sense that like maybe he's known her since she was really young. So I feel like there's a story there. Same thing with most of, like pretty much all the new characters. I feel like there's a story to be told there. They gave us enough to be like, I'm interested in why this person is here, what got them here.
Yeah, so I think my favorite is Magic, Ernie Hudson. Just his presence, his gravitas, the connection to the original show, being in that his character was a character, and something I didn't touch on earlier is I wonder if we're going to see lucky things happen around him happen, because that was his whole thing, like things good happen around him just because he's present.
Well, that's cool.
That's why they call him Magic. His name is not Magic.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
I always forget his name because I'm like, Magic just...
They said it once in the episode. They call him Magic.
I'm all, he is Magic.
I just associate it with...
So clearly the name stuck even post-military life.
Exactly. I mean, these people who weren't even born when Vietnam was happening.
They're calling him by his call sign, his nickname.
Yeah.
That his platoon gave him. So, yeah. I have no gripes about the story or the characters, but Ernie is where I'm at right now. I want to explore this, like I was talking about earlier. That's my favorite.
My favorite was probably Ben and Addison.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember in the initial episode we did, I was worried about how this Leaper Observer was going to work. I wanted something that would give me that same fuzzy feeling I got with Scott and Dean together. Mm-hmm. I think they work together, and I put a little quote in here because it just made me giggle, and it's kind of like, this is probably what their relationship is like. When he's like, can I dance? And she's like, you think you can? I'm like, oh, they're probably kind of fun, despite, you know, you don't always see people who work in these big government projects as being fun and silly. And I mean, I think all the characters kind of lend that to it, but I think I'm really going to like their dynamic.
We got a lot from the engagement party too. Like the dialogue between them also told us a lot about the kind of relationship they have and how much they love each other and how they have that balance of like, you're the badass one who's into like getting down to business. I want to go away with alcohol and go under the pier. We'll meet in the middle. Fine, I'll give a speech. I think the dynamic was really clear. It was weird. There were a lot of things about the show where it was a lot of exposition, and then a lot of moments where it wasn't a lot of exposition, but it was just context given by like what we're being shown. So, which
Right.
makes me feel
Yeah,
like the exposition moments were deliberate to give you that feeling as opposed to laziness. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the time exposition is just because they feel like they have to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll get less of that as time goes on. Because, you know, now that people are into the show and they're going to watch more of these episodes, they're not going to have to explain things. They're going to see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do, if they're going to continue the 80s sort of like vibe that we're picking up on, I do kind of hope they have a narrated introduction sequence.
You mean like the, you know, my name's Ben, I'm leaping, and
except
went caca.
In the original, it was, I don't know who did it. It was a woman.
Oh, it was Deborah Pratt.
Oh,
okay. So where Deborah Pratt just sort of like gives the show synopsis.
And they did that in this episode. So I'm assuming they're going to keep that.
Yeah. It was very short. It was like 2 lines.
Yeah. But that also evolved over time too in the old series.
Yeah. I mean, every season was a little bit different, I assume.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I kind of hope that's sort of, if we're going to retain this sort of 80s filmmaking feel, then I hope that stays part of it, becomes sort of that nostalgic fuzzy feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Which I debated. So I have an old CRT TV, you know, the big glass TVs.
Oh my God.
From the 90s. Well, mine's from like 2002. But,
close enough.
I debated putting this show on the CRT because I have the ability to do so, to display. Like I'm watching Peacock on a Roku box, but I can actually display that on my old CRT using just AV cables.
That's cool.
I was debating like watching it a second time like that.
Yeah.
we
just to sort of see how it stands.
We should have a retro marathon. We just once it's done, we should just watch it all on the old TV.
Yeah, and by the way, that is how I'm watching the classic episodes.
That's awesome.
That we recap. I have my PlayStation 2, and the DVD is hooked up to the old CRT, and that's how I'm recapping. So I'm reliving it as if it was. I mean, it's a better quality, but the same type of TV from the day.
Yield in 2002.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Oh my God.
It's a huge one too. It's like 32 inches. So it weighs like 85 pounds.
You know, like I can lift my, I think my TV's like 50, something like that. Yeah. I can lift it and carry it all around the house with no problem. I couldn't do that with an old TV.
We just got an OLED LG, like brand new thing.
Yeah.
65 inches, and it weighs 45 pounds. It's less than half of the TV that's half its size.
Yeah, it's very.
The new show looked amazing on it, by the way.
Yeah, it did.
That's awesome.
And that's probably why we were so sensitive to picking up on all the things that were off, because we were like,
yeah, maybe that'd be
clear.
interesting to watch it on the CRT and see if like it really matters as much. And then we also have like a mid-tier TV in the bedroom that we could like watch those scenes on and see if they stand out as badly as I thought they did.
Really, we're just flexing now at this point.
Well, I don't mean to do that, I guess.
I mean, I watched it on my cell phone at work, so...
Nice.
Whatever works, man.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, I should probably watch it and take a few, like, little notes. I try not to be spoilery on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, everything that I wanted to remember, I was like, maybe I should watch it again to see if I can pick it up and actually write down what I want to remember. So that about wraps it up for this episode. I just want to do a quick little mention. The next leap looks like he's leaping into an astronaut, which makes my teenage heart really happy.
When I first saw that, I was like, is he on the Challenger? Oh wait, no, if he was, it'd be too late.
Too dark.
Go back, it's too late. Yeah, and then, they had the teaser trailer, which I guess looks like we're gonna get a lot during the season about especially Magic, his life, and how he's made it to the project. Nice. So, because we did see like a quick clip, and I thought I was seeing things, but it looks like it was a clip from the Leap Home Part 2, where Sam was magic.
I missed this. What was this?
It was at the very end of the episode. They showed the leap, and then they showed commercials, and then there was a teaser trailer for like what's coming up.
Yeah. I don't remember that. I must have turned it off before we got there.
Yeah, so that's what makes me think we're going to get a lot of magic in this coming season.
My cats are now playing in the back of my camera.
They were wrestling. I just watched Lilu jump over that box to get to me.
What are you doing?
So yeah, I'm gonna have to go watch that then because I missed it. I didn't even know that was a thing that happened in the teaser when I mentioned how does magic fit into this? How do you? I was just fortuitous that I was thinking of that, and then apparently we might be leading into that.
And you know what? When the show went off, I saw there was still 4 minutes left, so I just waited through that last commercial.
I feel like we waited through the credits, but then I don't know. I guess I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm probably have to go watch that immediately after we record this. So yeah, shout outs again. Like Christina said in the beginning, thanks to the Fates Wide Wheel podcast and Carol Davis for our shout outs that we received. Shout out to them as well. And we have a few alternate projects of our own that we would like to just plug in here at the end real quick. If you like old technology, I have a Twitch channel where I repair things. Twitch.tv/Claxmaster. Link is in the show notes. I like to repair things like old game consoles, audio recorders like mini discs and cassette players and record players. So if that interests you, I don't have a regular schedule, but I do go up every once in a while, and I like to work on things like solder on circuit boards and take things apart and modify them as well.
And I've got another podcast with a friend of mine. She lives up in Canada, and it's called C and Lee Talk Cold Cases. Basically, I pick an American cold case, she picks a Canadian cold case, and we talk about the things that keep us up at night.
True crime.
Yeah, I've got a strange mind.
I love it. I also am a co-host on Trial by Stone, the Dark Crystal podcast. You can find us at Dark Crystal Podcast on pretty much everything. And we're streaming on all the podcasty platforms where we talk about the Dark Crystal, as in, that creepy puppet movie from Jim Henson from 1983 that you are probably terrified of as a kid. Or if you're like me and you love puppets and scary stuff, that's what we do over there. And we are currently planning a Dark Crystal convention. It's going to be in Hollywood this November, called The Great Conjunction, for the 40th anniversary of the original film. So that's pretty exciting. 1982 rather. I don't know why I said 1983. So that's where we're gonna be all respectively at. Don't forget to check the show notes as well for all of our links and details, and I guess that's that about that.
Yeah. So thanks all for joining us. We hope to see you next time as we cover episode 2 and talk about our first impressions and notes on that. Thank you.
Bye.